We are in South Florida at the Watsco Center in Coral Gables, Louisville, trailing Miami 8-7 with just shy of 6 minutes gone by in the first half of the season opener. These are the two players to keep an eye on tonight. Preseason ACC Player of the Year, NWORA for Louisville, and also Chris Likes, who is a preseason second-team All-Selection for the home team Canes.
And NWORA already off to a good start. 5 points for him. The first shot that he's really forced a second ago on the three-pointer. But, of course, he's going to have 10 defensive eyes on him at all times when he's got the basketball in his hands. And Chris Likes on the other end of the floor for Miami actually getting a break right now.
Isaiah Young had that one pop out. Steve Schlager, Corey Alexander, glad to have you with us on this season opening night. First ACC conference game on the opening night of the season in 40 years. Number 5 Louisville on the road to take on a rebuilding Hurricanes team. NWORA on the fadeaway, couldn't find the touch.
And give Wong a lot of credit right there, defending NWORA, giving up about 4 to 5 inches against the bigger Jordan NWORA. But you see Miami doing a great job. Harlan Beverly coming in off the bench. And you look at he and Wong, they have already given Miami a significant boost. And that's one of the areas where Miami struggled a year ago. They did not have depth. Jim Larinaga now with 9 available scholarship players. And that depth is truly helping him here in game 1.
Ryan McMahon from underneath, his first basket of the night. The redshirt senior from Sarasota, Florida. Led the team in free throw shooting a year ago. Says that coming into this year, it's the most pressure he's ever felt here with this program, as it's Beverly once again back-to-back baskets for Miami.
Now, we talked about guys possibly having jitters in this game, but how about Beverly and Wong coming in off the bench, the 2 freshmen? No jitters at all for these 2 guys. They've got off to a great start.
Both teams loaded with freshmen this year. And how about that block getting over Dengak? Trying to convert on the other end. Defense to offense.
And Walker, so you've seen a huge impact immediately from 3 freshmen for Miami, all coming in and making plays early.
And a whistle and a foul. With just over 12 now left to go, first half.
And Fresh Kimball trying to get to the rim. Dengak denying the bucket. And then on the other end of the floor, Beverly finds Walker. And all this crowd wanted to see Walker go over top of someone. They've talked about how great of an athlete he is. Still, the 2 points matter.
Largest lead of this first half for Miami with 12:08 left to play. Walker, the 6'9" freshman from Baltimore, didn't start playing competitive basketball until the age of 15, but a quick study.
You know, and the difference with this, with the 3 freshmen for Miami coming in and playing well early, this is a conference game. This isn't, you know, one of those games where it's a guaranteed game, as we see McGusty get the steal and the easy layup on the other end of the floor. But the 3 freshmen for Miami, along with Gak and McGusty, have really made a difference in this game and leading Miami now to a 7-point lead where they were trailing before these guys came in.
Miami on a 10-2 run. McMahon quiets this crowd. He's got 5 points and his first 3-point basket of this opening half. Again, the 3-point line moved out to the international distance this year. Will be interesting as the season unfolds to see how that impacts certain teams and certain conferences. Isaiah Wong can't find the touch from 3 there. Second chance at it, though.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a foul on Walker.
Miami off to a great start. Has been some freshmen coming in and giving them a boost, but it's the senior, DJ Vasiljevic, 2 3-pointers already this evening, and then the transfer, Cam McGusty, getting the steal in the easy finish out in transition.
6 lottery picks out of this conference a year ago. Hard to believe, but once again producing some tremendous talent as we look ahead to this year. What jumps out at you? What you most excited about, Corey?
I'm most excited to see the parity. You talk about the 3 #1 seeds in the ACC a year ago. It was a top-heavy league, of course, a great league as well. But this year, I think there's more of an even playing field. You have a number of the teams that are in the middle of the pack, the Florida States, the NC States. And Notre Dame can make a resurgence this year. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing a competitive conference this year, especially with a 20-game conference slate.
Last year, the 9th national title in the last 19 years as well for the conference. And a rarity opening this season with a conference game. How do you like that?
I like it. I like it a lot. When you think about what is going on in college basketball and you get an opportunity to play a meaningful game on day one and bring the interest of college basketball as McMahon knocks down his second three-pointer. We've seen Vasiljevic do it on one end of the floor for Miami. And now you've got another senior, Ryan McMahon, who's playing in front of his parents, I'm sure, making the trip from Sarasota, coming to check him out. He comes up with the steal as well.
McMahon with 8 points, looking for his third triple, and he's got it. Ryan McMahon, back-to-back three-point baskets. Louisville erasing the deficit, and they lead by 2.
Well, a great timeout for Chris Mack. Coming in now, 2 back-to-back threes from McMahon. And again, now the game is starting to settle in. You're seeing the players, get rid of the jitters. But we've seen some of the freshmen step up and make big plays already for Miami.
Ryan McMahon leading this 9-0 run for the Cardinals.
Well, McMahon is a shooter that you cannot afford to go out with your hands down. He will bury it every time when you give him a look. And then, of course, just a defensive breakdown by Miami, not picking up the hottest shooter on the floor in transition as McMahon knocks down his third three-pointer in the easiest of the game. Where's it, number 30? I wonder if he happens to like that guy playing out in Golden State. Oh, San Francisco now, not Golden State.
And he's moved across the bay.
Yeah, actually not playing. A broken hand has Steph Curry out, but Ryan McMahon holding up the three-pointers for him.
He leads all scores. You can tell he's got the rhythm. A rare miss here as we cross over the midpoint of this first half. And a big block by NWORA, who climbed the ladder that time. Huge elevation.
And that's a play where McGusty has to go dunk that one because, of course, there are no easy ones in this league. In the ACC, you get out on the break, you better finish it or you're going to have to deal with the long arm of Jordan Ward from Louisville. Does a great job getting back defensively and then going up and cleaning that off the glass. Beautiful defensive play by Ward there, and he does get to it before it gets to the glass. Great no call by the officials. That's one of the areas where Chris Mack said he wanted to see Jordan Ward improve as a player was on the defensive end of the floor. He knows what he can do offensively, but does he add all the other attributes to the game? And a great play by Ward defensively there, leading to the fast break opportunity for the Cards.
Yeah, Ward just 5 points so far. He had 20 in the game with Miami last year. And now this is Dwayne Sutton at the free throw line. 6'5" redshirt senior from Louisville. Homegrown product. Sutton started every game a year ago, and also in the starting 5 here tonight as the Cardinals get the turnover. 3-on-3.
That's a shot where Darius Perry has to just take it. He's got the pull up at the elbow. Great job by Sutton on the offensive glass. But Darius Perry, one of the things about him is he's really caught in between being that point guard and playing off the ball. Has to find that balance of being aggressive with his offense because he's a very capable scorer, and that's one where he's got to look and see, hey, I have an opportunity here to put 2 points on the board for my team and take advantage of it.
12-0 run for the 5th-ranked Cardinals here with under 9 now left to go first half. The lead is 5.
And the bad news about that is that run has happened primarily when Jim Larinaga gets his starters back into the game. The freshmen were doing a great job and built the lead, and now with his veterans back in the game, Louisville has taken command.
And how about the freshman for Louisville, Sam Williamson, the 6'7" freshman from Rockwall, Texas. Louisville with their largest lead now.
And one of the things that you'll notice, the Cards travel well. Samuel Williamson getting out in transition and finding his way to the rim and off the glass into the light of the Cards faithful who have traveled here to Coral Gables.
With Louisville after also being with them at Xavier before making the move.
And so you're not going to acknowledge the Piggly Wiggly hat? I mean, you can't let a man, Bill Murray especially, get on TV and wear a Piggly Wiggly hat and not acknowledge that.
Well, I was going to save that for you. I mean, Publix is really the grocery store of record here in these parts. So you got to be careful with the advertisements.
And I love Publix. but it doesn't have the name quite like Piggly Wiggly.
Hard not to like the Piggly Wiggly. Turnover by Miami. It's their 7th of this opening half. Something that they made a point of emphasis in the offseason, cutting down on turnovers. Actually, both teams trying to take better care of the ball than they did a year ago. Louisville on a 14-0 run over the last 3 minutes. And they're going to get another opportunity to extend that with free throws here.
And now you look at this lineup for Louisville right now. You see Dwayne Sutton at 6'5", maybe 6'6" on a good day, playing the 5 position. And this is an area where Chris Mack actually used this lineup to start their exhibition game against Bellamar earlier, and they struggled in that game playing without Stephen Enoch, who was dealing with a deep thigh bruise, back in the lineup tonight. But this is a small lineup for Louisville, but Chris Mack doesn't concern himself because the toughness of Dwayne Sutton allows him to be able to get away with it.
Dwayne Sutton, such a versatile player, maybe the most versatile on this entire team. So good attacking the basket, but developing that perimeter shot over the course of the offseason, improving from three-point range as well. And here's Jordan NWORA off the offensive rebound following the miss. And the freshman Williamson has 4 points.
And the offensive rebound off of a free throw. And Jim Larenega's group went over that time and time again in their shoot-around this morning. I'm sure that's not something Coach Larenega's going to be happy about, especially when they get a film session tomorrow to check that out.
Chris Likes driving. And it's going to go the other way against Likes in the lane.
And a big play, Darius Perry playing with 2 fouls, stepping in and taking the charge. As you see Perry getting in position outside of that restricted area, moving a little bit to his right on that one.
It's interesting, Corey. Earlier in this game, Jim Larenega brought some freshmen off the bench. They went on a run. They had the lead, but then Louisville turned things right around. They had some freshmen of their own make a contribution. Well, what's been the most pivotal aspect about the way the Cardinals have taken control of this game?
Well, Ryan McMahon, that's the start of it, knocking down 3 3-pointers here in this first half, and 2 of them back-to-back out of the timeout, which gave Louisville the lead back. But more importantly, you talk about those freshmen, Beverly and Wong both made a tremendous impact, and because of that, Coach L has them back in the game right now.
Still a 17-0 run for the Cardinals here, as Fresh Kimball is back into the basketball game. Darius Perry to the bench. When your nickname is Fresh, you gotta always be doing something, right? You can't stand around, can't get stale in the court.
Or you gotta look good. One of the two. But now here's the thing, look at these lineups. You're talking about small ball at its best. Both teams with 4 guards on the floor. Wardenberg and Sutton both playing the center position, and this gives an advantage to Wardenberg, who's the tallest player on the court. That's going to take advantage of those ones he gets in the paint, as my man Chris Likes gets his first bucket here on the evening.
Very difficult shot for Chris Likes. And junior from Maryland, standing only 5'7". Chris Mack, head coach for Louisville, said we cannot let him consistently get in the paint and score on us.
Yeah, that was an easy answer for Chris Mack. I asked him, what concerns you the most about Miami? He simply said Chris Likes. As Sutton is able to get an easy bucket, a great slip on that screen, and a beautiful find.
6 points for Sutton, 10-point lead for the Cardinals. 6 minutes to go first half on opening night here in Coral Gables, Florida.
Great defensive possession by Jordan NWORA there, getting over, cutting off the baseline, and more importantly, not using his hands and fouling Wong as he was trying to get past him. You see NWORA moving his feet and then immediately getting the hand in, knocking the ball off of Wardenberg's feet. And Jordan NWORA, of course, we know what he does offensively, but off to a great defensive start in this game as well.
And a terrific pass there for Sutton, but they're going to put that down. That's a goaltend. So add 2 to the Louisville score.
And add to the NWORA resume right there, a beautiful find for him. Sutton finding his way to the basket, and because of the attention that you have to pay to Jordan NWORA with the basketball in his hands, Sutton is able to slip and get a wide open look. Wardenberg coming in with the goaltend later, but that's another area of concern for Chris Mack with Jordan NWORA, is him being more efficient this year. And we've seen him become a more efficient basketball player in the first 14+ minutes of this game.
Yeah, he's got so many tools. One of the things they want him to work on is cutting down on the turnovers, being more efficient on the offensive end. And now that's the second foul on Fresh Kimball for Louisville.
We talk about NWORA and what he's been able to do, and this is a young man who really transformed his body last year after his freshman year, and didn't play as much, I'm sure, as he would like to. And basically started last season coming off the bench, but then, of course, easily became a starter after about 5 games for Chris Mack and never looked back. And now you're talking about the preseason ACC Player of the Year.
Lead still double figures with just north of 5 minutes left to go first half. Just gobbling up the offensive rebounds. Sutton has been an animal underneath, playing with an energy, a passion.
And that's why Chris Mack loves Sutton so much. At 6'5", he's playing the biggest on the floor. Might not have the tallest stature, but he's playing bigger than anyone else out there.
And their one exhibition went for 18 and 13 in a very good effort. Harlan Beverly with the three-point miss, but Wong, the freshman, tracks it down. Shot clock resetting to 20 on an offensive rebound. There's Wong. Miami has missed some in tight here in this first half.
Yeah, they're getting there. That's the one thing that you have to be happy about if you're Jim Larrañaga, but of course finishing is something completely different. And you're talking about freshmen playing in their first true college game on this stage and against this level of competition. Oftentimes it can be tough.
Kimball on the spin. Fresh Kimball from the Philly area. A grad transfer from St. Joseph's, and the only player in St. Joe's history to be a 3-year captain, but drawn to Louisville by their winning culture and the chance to win a national title.
Well, he picked a great spot. This Louisville team is loaded. You talk about the veteran depth that they have, as well as the 6 incoming freshmen.
Vasiljevic into double figures for Miami. First player to hit that mark for this Hurricanes team. He had a couple of back-to-back threes in the opening few minutes, but has been largely quiet offensively since then. Kimball lost the handle. With 3 minutes to go in the half, Beverly well off on the 3.
I'm not sure if that's the shot that Coach Larrañaga wants from Beverly, especially that early in the shot clock.
And a timeout taken here with just under 3 minutes left to go. So Louisville making a statement offensively as the number 5 team in the land here on the road. Over Miami with just inside of 3 minutes left to go first half. This just the first of a doubleheader tonight on the ACC network. Next it's Georgia Tech taking on NC State. Another doubleheader tomorrow. Notre Dame in Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina, followed by the defending national champions from Virginia at the Carrier Dome to face the Cuse. 4 games in 2 nights to start off this season. Earliest start these two teams, Louisville and Miami, have ever had here on this first Tuesday in November. Boy, we just skipped the appetizers, went right to the main course. Not just the earliest opening night, but the first opening night ACC game in 4 decades.
Wait, this isn't dessert? I thought this was
the main
dessert.
course and dessert.
Okay. Stephen Enoch checking right back into the game. They spent some time on the bench and coming in a beautifully designed play by Chris Mack coming out of timeout. A great execution by his Cards to get Enoch the easy bucket.
It's now a 27-6 run for Louisville over the last 9 minutes. Reichs finally starts to help the Canes cut into that with his 4th point of this opening half.
Well, and that's what Chris Reichs can do against pretty much anyone. And Rodney Miller taking a hard fall there, trying to go up vertically. Coming down on his back. Does a great job of trying to stay vertical, but when those arms come down, and give Fresh Kimball a lot of credit because he went in there with a lot of force, getting into the body of Rodney Miller.
And he's also going to get called for his 2nd personal foul. And that'll send Kimball to the free throw line here.
See Kimball getting to the rim. Shielded a little bit there. Rodney Miller definitely getting the worst of that. It's always, I mean, just adding insult to injury. When you take the worst of the punishment, that fall, and you get the foul.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Hey, throw me a bone here, right? Kimball now with 4 points. St. Joseph's second leading scorer last year, averaging 16 per game. Well, this is a Louisville team with big expectations this season. They have their highest preseason ranking in 6 years, returning 6 of their top 7 scores from last year. Maybe the best front court in the nation. Some people seem to think so. And of course, led by the ACC preseason player of the year, and also getting a contribution from a freshman like that, Sam Williamson, the 6'7" freshman from Texas.
And not just a freshman, but a McDonald's All-American freshman coming in and knocking down the 3 with the opportunity for the 4-point play to Samuel Williamson, who really came to Louisville, I'm sure, with big expectations of being in the starting lineup and taking over where Jordan NWORA left off. Remember, NWORA entered his name into the NBA draft, had an injury that kept him from staying in the draft, and came back. But Williamson doing a great job, really coming in off the bench, had 17 points in their exhibition game as a starter. But I love the energy and the effort that he's playing with, and not pouting about the fact that he's coming off the bench. Many McDonald's All-Americans right now, they're not going anywhere to come off the bench, but when you have an opportunity to play for a great team as he does, he's taking advantage of it.
Sutton with the back door, and Williamson, the finish with authority. Big opening night for Sam Williamson as he introduces himself to the college game, the ACC, and he's got 9 points.
Well, I guess it's not about the way you start, it's the way you finish, right? And a beautiful finish from Sammy Williamson coming along the baseline right there. Beautiful feed by Sutton.
Vasilovic. As we come up on the final minute of the first half, Cardinals trying to extend this lead. Crashing the offensive glass once again, Wardenberg. The block of NWORA. And he misses back-to-back shots. Likes, gets the step. Can't get the basket.
And Sammy Williamson going across that baseline, the finish, and a beautiful drop-off by Sutton. And that's what you have to do when, of course, there's going to be a trap. That means if you get the basketball out of the trap, there's going to be an advantage for someone. Sutton does the right thing, finding Williamson along the baseline, was able to finish it off. And right now, the Cardinals with the opportunity to go up 20 here in the first half after they've exploded after a good Miami run early.
Kimball for Sutton. He's been so valuable down low, and once again to the free throw line. He's been the most frequent visitor of any player to the stripe here in this first half.
And remember, Sutton playing at the center position right now. Malik Williams out, still nursing a foot injury in a boot. So they don't have the two-headed monster that they normally have at the center position with Enoch and Malik when you have those two guys up front. But Sutton doing a great job filling in right now at the center position. Normally we'd be playing the power forward, but Chris Mack told us today he has learned every position at Louisville except for point guard. He's played at every spot other than point guard through his career here, and no surprise to Chris Mack how well Dwayne Sutton is performing here tonight.
One of the best perimeter shooters on the team now, but showing a soft touch from the free throw line. Leads all scorers with 12 points. And Sutton now 4 of 6 from the stripe as the lead has swelled to 45-24 in the closing seconds of this first half. Vasilovic scoping out the 3. Wardenberg cleaning it up underneath. And no shot for the Cardinals before the end of the first half. Well, Miami led 16-9 with just under 12 minutes left to go in the half, but Louisville closes on a 36-10 run over the last 11:23 to take a commanding lead here after 20 minutes.
Well, we came in talking about the preseason ACC Player of the Year, Jordan NWORA, but it's been Ryan McMahon knocking down threes, Dwayne Sutton commanding his presence on the interior, and the freshman Samuel Williamson putting on a show here.
Big expectations, a lot of optimism in Louisville. They played 20 minutes here of this new season. How do you like what you've seen so far?
Well, I've liked a lot of what I've seen so far from Louisville, and the reason you have those expectations is because you have those returning performers, but you also have an incoming freshman class that is very good. So when you look at what you've seen from those returning players, Dwayne Sutton has been spectacular in the first half on the offensive glass, and more importantly for him, playing at that center position with Malik Williams out injured, he's been able to give them opportunity on the inside to be able to, where they don't give up anything. And then the freshman, Samuel Williamson, doing a great job getting out in transition and finishing, and then finding his way to the rim, using his size to shoot over smaller defenders. Also has a 4-point play in the first half. So Louisville's been getting a balance of, production from their veterans as well as from the freshmen.
Both teams starting the second half the way they opened the first half. For Miami, what is their potential path back into this game?
Well, they're going to have to knock down some threes. DJ Vasiljevic was able to get off to a great start from beyond the arc, but of course Louisville locked in on him defensively and pretty much took him out of the remainder of that first half, not giving him any easy looks.
NWORA drawing the foul here. And another good sign for Louisville. They had two players in double figures in that first half, and neither one was named Jordan NWORA. You have the preseason Player of the Year. His last field goal came with 15 minutes left to go in the first half, but he made an impact in other areas, though, to help his ball club.
He really did. Defensively, he was all over the place, and he was rebounding the basketball very well. You see him aggressive on the first possession of the second half. But that's the one thing about this Louisville team. They don't need for him to have huge games every night to be successful. As Chris Mack says, they need for him to be efficient. And that's one of the things that he was able to do this summer, playing for the Nigerian world team, who's qualified now for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. So we will see Jordan NWORA playing in the Olympics this summer. But right now, he's more concerned about trying to win a national championship for the Louisville Cardinals.
Vasiljevic going cold from three since the back-to-back early triples in the opening minutes of this game. This Miami team coming off a disappointing season a year ago, first losing season under Jim Larrañaga. They did not feature in a postseason tournament, but his teams typically bounce back the year after subpar seasons. Miller corrals that one, and Likes will push the floor. The 5'7" guard going hard to the hole, wanted the call, none given. Cardinals with numbers. McMahon was deadly from downtown in the first half. This time tries the floater, and the follow goes in for Stephen Enoch.
And that's been an area where Louisville has really taken advantage of Miami on the offensive glass.
Enoch was held out of the only exhibition for Louisville last week because of a thigh bruise. Just a precautionary measure, but having an impact here tonight as Rodney Miller, a 7-footer from New York, tips that one in for just his first bucket of the ball game for the Canes.
Coach Larrañaga was so happy for me to get in the opportunity here to see Rodney Miller and how he's really improved his body. And as a player, of course, I had opportunity to coach Rodney at Oak Hill Academy. And Coach Larrañaga was just beaming when he talked about Rodney earlier today and the strides that he's made offensively and as a defender. But now I believe that's going to be his third foul he picks up, and most likely going to have to take a seat to the bench.
It always happens like that, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You're talking about the glowing circumstances, the improvement he's made, and now all of a sudden 3 fouls.
Yep, you started it, by the way.
So this is Enoch at the line for the Cardinals. Now look at this. We just happen to have a photo here. And there's a name right above his right shoulder that I seem to recognize.
And that's where I sat while I was coaching him, on his right shoulder, yelling at him constantly. That's why that picture was taken just like that.
Has lost so much weight over the last few years. He had 16 points in their exhibition game last week.
Great young man. Very happy for him. And he stuck it out at Miami where, you know, you see a lot of guys who would transfer if they don't get what they want right away. Rodney stuck it out, accepted the red shirt last year in a year where Miami really could have used him. But Jim Larrañaga talked about the fact that he would be better for them in the future. And now you see Rodney is playing a huge role here for the Hurricanes.
Terrific all-around athlete. Played baseball and water polo back in high school. Here he is on that left-hand hook and drawing the foul.
I love how aggressive he's being when he gets his opportunities in the post. And you also have to remember, this is a young man who didn't play much in his first 2 seasons, and then last year redshirted, so he doesn't have a lot of basketball experience. And so seeing him come in, of course, with this stage, having to play against a number 5 ranked team in the country in game 1, you know, that's a lot to take on, but I really like the way that he's approached this game early. And, of course, they're going to need him to be successful this year.
And believe it or not, Corey, that was the first free throw attempt of the game for Miami. Did not go to the line in that first half, and Miller is 0 for 2 here as they start the second half.
Now, let me tell you who's not happy about that. Not just Coach Larrañaga, but Chris Likes. Because Chris Likes has felt like he's been fouled a number of times attacking the basket and hasn't gotten the call.
Ryan McMahon creating separation. Was so good from distance in that first half, but hits the mid-range jumper there, and he's got 13 points.
But that's called development. Ryan McMahon did not have that in his game when he came to Louisville from Sarasota, Florida. But now you look at the redshirt senior, and you can see he's more than just a shooter. The ability to put the basketball on the floor and make plays off the dribble.
Had 12 points and a career-high 9 assists in the game against Miami last year. Vasilovic finally connects on a corner 3. His third three-point basket of the game, but first since the opening minutes of the first half. He started 2 of 2 from downtown. Since then, 1 of 9.
That was a little bit personal, though. McMahon just took Vasilovic off the dribble with a beautiful move, so Vasilovic had to get some get back on that one.
Enoch. Soft hook for the big man.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I worked with Stephen Enoch at the Nike Basketball Academy this summer, so I'm taking a little bit of credit for that hook, even though I can't do it.
Miller left wide open underneath. Enoch tried to hustle back, but some miscommunication defensively for the Cardinals.
We got a number of NBA scouts here today, and a lot of them are very interested in Stephen Enoch and seeing what his development is like. He's got the great size, can shoot it, has the touch. But right now, they have to be impressed with what they're seeing from Dwayne Sutton, who is having his way here in Coral Gables here tonight.
Sutton leads all scorers with 14 points, and Louisville still a commanding advantage. Presented by Geico. Speaking of Florida State, how about the alum Eduardo Perez, our colleague here, but wearing the U gear? What is up with that, Corey?
Well, he lost a bet to someone. We're not sure who the bet was to, but he was not having the young person putting up the U in front of him. Made sure to put that down. His Seminole roots coming out, not expecting that.
And I'm sure he was glad the cameras found him as well. Cards running. Enoch on the follow. Now Beverly. And Enoch cleans the glass.
But that's a small play. You think about it, it was Stephen Enoch who tried to get the tip dunk on that possession, but sprinted the floor and came up with the rebound. And that's the effort that Chris Mack wants to see from all of his players.
So we'll step aside. There's an issue with the underside of the rim with 15.5 left to play. Here in South Florida, just shy of 5 minutes gone by here in the second half in a game featuring the ACC preseason player of the year, Jordan NWORA, the junior from Buffalo, New York. Leading returning scorer in the ACC this season, although he's been quiet on the scoreboard tonight. Only 7 points, 2 points here in the second half. What do you like most about his game?
The fact that he has 10 rebounds. And again, Chris Mack talked about he had to be a more efficient basketball player. It hasn't shown up in his shooting, but it has shown up in his defense and his rebounding. He has 2 steals, a block shot, 10 boards. So he's stuffing the stat sheet and more than just scoring. One thing we know for certain, he can score. That's not going to be an issue. Can he do the other things to help his team win? And he's done that here tonight.
Beverly has his shot blocked. And then here is NWORA. finishing on the other end, running the floor coast to coast.
One of the things you learn when you play rec basketball as a kid, I'm talking 4 or 5 years old, rule number 1, stop the basketball. Miami getting back in defensive transition. No one stopping Jordan NWORA, who goes coast to coast for the easy layup. And those are the things that drive you crazy as a coach. I'm sure Coach L not happy about that.
That's Cameron McGusty with the three-point basket. He transferred from Oklahoma after having that promising freshman year when he was on the Big 12 all-newcomer team as a freshman in Norman, but then was sort of limited in his sophomore year by playing with a ball-dominant Trae Young. So found a new home here at Miami, and the whistle here.
The Jordan NWORA coming up with another one of those rebounds, and you see going coast to coast, and McGusty and Chris Likes, neither guy taking in control and saying, I got ball, allowing Jordan NWORA to get an easy bucket. And, you know, they've been able to hold NWORA in check scoring for the most part in this game. Of course, he's, you know, public enemy number 1 on the scouting report. But when you give a guy that scores as well as he does an easy layup like that, you got to watch out because a flurry could be on its way.
18 NBA scouts from 13 different teams here at this game tonight. I'm watching NWORA and some others on the floor on this opening night of the season. NWORA gave serious consideration to entering the NBA draft last year, but couldn't work out in May for the NBA teams because of a calf injury, but he's working in front of him here tonight as he buries the three.
Now let's go back to the point of, you know, you often see a guy that can really shoot it, gets an easy layup, and that really just builds in their confidence to open things up. We saw NWORA get the layup on the possession before, and just like that, he knocks down a 3 on the next possession.
He's got 12 points, a double-double, after having 8 double-doubles all of last season. McMahon, the most prolific three-point shooter on this team and in this game, now has 16 points to lead all scorers on the night.
But one thing we found out thus far, Louisville is legit. No career overall, and the largest scoring improvement last season at 11.3 points per game improvement over his freshman year. Could be interesting to see if he could do that again, because he'd be scoring some big numbers to add 11 to that 17 points per game.
Well, preseason player of the year, where's his biggest competition for that award going to come from, do you think?
I think Tre Jones at Duke. And the reason being is because I think that, in my opinion, Louisville and Duke will be the 2 best teams in the ACC this year. Tre Jones coming back is probably the biggest recruiting job that Coach K has done over the past few years. And he's done some great ones, but that gives them a leader at the point guard position to get all of those talented freshmen in place, but also a lot of veteran leadership with Duke when you talk about Javin DeLaurier, Jack White. You know, you've got some players there, but when you've got that point guard to lead it all, that definitely helps.
Miller with his back to the basket, and the foul is against the Cardinals. Aiden Iguahan, the freshman from Dublin, Ireland, with his first.
And you look at the preseason All-ACC first team, of course, Jordan NWORA, Tre Jones, as we mentioned earlier, Mooney Diakite, and Mamdi Diakite, in my opinion, will be one of those guys who's also in the mix for Player of the Year, as well as Cole Anthony, the freshman who gets the ball immediately at North Carolina. And North Carolina's success will depend more so on a freshman this year than I believe it ever has, and that's saying a lot because North Carolina's had a number of great freshmen. But like Kobe White a year ago, but Kobe White had so many more tools around him.
Oh, there's the play of the year so far. Granted, it's early, but show me something better. Jordan NWORA going up and throwing down. McGusty scoring in the lane for the first time in this second half.
But just like that, we've seen a 7-0 run for Jordan NWORA alone. You throw in the 3 from McMahon, and Louisville is operating on all cylinders right now.
And Williamson, the freshman, on the follow. And Sam Williamson now into double figures, the 3rd Cardinal into double digits here tonight. And the lead is at 28 for the visitors. Well, Jordan NWORA quiet offensively for the most part in this game, but coming alive here tonight now.
And nothing quiet about this dunk. Beautiful find and a great design. Ryan McMahon to Jordan Nwora over the top to finish it off, which we may see that on SportsCenter later tonight.
Very animated and dynamic so far in this second half of play, just inside of a dozen minutes left to go. And the lead at 28 for fifth-ranked Louisville.
And we have to remember, it all started for Nwora with a rebound and a push, full court, coast to coast, easy layup. And from there, he's run off 9 points in a row and went from what was having a pretty much pedestrian game to now a double-double and having a great game thus far, getting it started in the second half. And that's the second time we've seen that same play out of the timeout for Chris Mack. And a dunk for Enoch underneath, and give the Cards credit for executing the coach's game plan, especially early here in the season, where you talk about, you know, we talked with Chris Mack earlier today, and he simply talked about how playing an opponent like Miami early changes the way they have to go about their preseason approach, because you have to put in so much stuff that you normally wouldn't, you would gradually put in. But when you've got to play at this level, this early, you've got to have more of your offenses put in, more of your defenses put in, and more of your special packages. And, you know, give the Cards credit, especially coming on the road. They've done a great job with that here tonight.
Freshman Isaiah Wong at the free throw line for Miami, but not just that, he also talked about the fact that it's so hard to play a conference game right out of the chute like this, because you just don't know everything about your team. I mean, coaches figure things out about what's going to work best as the season unfolds, and on opening night, you don't necessarily know what your best team is going to be, what it's going to look like. So it takes some time to absorb all of it.
But what he does know, he's got a lot of weapons, a lot of talent on his group. Quinn Selinsky getting into the game for the first time as a freshman. And you look at this preseason poll, Duke and North Carolina at the top, and I honestly believe that that is going to change. I think that Louisville will be able to battle with Duke for the ACC crown this year. I think North Carolina comes down a little bit. Injury to Brandon Robinson definitely doesn't help them early. And then, of course, when you look at, you know, Virginia, what they've been able to do with Tony Bennett defending, they're always going to have a chance to be successful.
So much turnover in the conference this year, but giving the opportunities to some younger players, newcomers, to come in and make a contribution right away to keep things exciting.
I don't know if Florida State is a sleeper, but they're also one of the teams that could also win the ACC this year. When you think about the style of play, Leonard Hamilton playing 12, possibly 13 guys, getting up and down the floor, and the way they defend, Trent Forrest at the point guard positions, they've got a chance to be one of the elite teams in the ACC this season as well. Halfway through our second frame here. 10 minutes left to go. The lead is 30 for the Cardinals. And Enoch in some pain here after that offensive rebound. Stephen Enoch missed the exhibition game with a deep thigh bruise, and immediately going to that right leg. I'm not certain that that's the leg or want to speculate. You see him chase down the rebound, and immediately Wong comes in contact with that right thigh. So if that is the area that was bothering him before, I'm sure it was just aggravated. He's had a good opening night. Double-double, 11 and 10. Spent the offseason really working hard on his conditioning. Was getting too fatigued last year. Also trying to find more consistency this year overall. As that one from Darius Perry goes up and in for his first basket of the game. Wong has to back it out. Shot clock in single digits, and the three-point baskets. Anthony Walker, a promising young prospect for Jim Larinaga's group. The staff talked about his athleticism and what he provides for this team at 6'8", 6'9", playing that forward position. And one of the things that you're going to see a lot more from Miami as this season goes along, they're a much deeper team than they've been in the past, especially last year when they only had 7 scholarship athletes available. now with 9, but these freshmen, Wong, Beverly, and Walker, all can really help them this season.
Off glass and in for Anthony Walker, 6'9" freshman from Baltimore. Making his presence felt. He's got 7.
And back-to-back buckets for Walter, knocking down the 3, and then finishing through the contact at the rim, an opportunity for another 3-point play. And of course,
on the foul.
We had no moral victories, of course, in this for Jim Larranaga, but there's one thing that you want to be able to do is take away some positives, especially from your young players, that they can build on and give them confidence going through what will be the preseason. But the preseason is a little different in the ACC this year. We talk about game 1, but most teams will play another conference game before we get to Christmas. So an early start as far as your competitive nature in the ACC this year, especially with 20 conference games on tap.
Fresh Kimball with 5 to shoot. Did most of his damage in the first half of play. First basket here in the second half. He's got half a dozen overall.
And now you're seeing a lineup from Louisville with both Fresh Kimball and Darius Perry on the floor together. Kimball comes in and plays the point guard position, moving Perry off the ball.
Harlan Beverly with the 3-point basket for Miami. A freshman from Detroit, but went to the same academy in Florida as Ben Simmons, D'Angelo Russell, and Joel Embiid.
That would be one Montverde Academy where Kevin Boyle does a great job coaching guys up and getting them prepared for college basketball.
So sponsored by Piggly Wiggly. Phil and Carolina from Chapel Hill, followed by the defending national champions Virginia on the road at Syracuse. And beginning at 6 Eastern tomorrow on the ACC network, we've got our Nothing But Net pre- and post-game shows set to go from the Carrier Dome for that huge showdown with the Cavs. After the game, they will break down the day in hoops, and the man sitting to my right is on the 6 a.m. to Syracuse, I believe. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. 6 a.m. to be on at 6 p.m. on Nothing But Net. And I believe we may be doing that from the Carmelo Anthony Center, my little brother. I call him. He's the other little CA. It's Cole Anthony and Carmelo Anthony, both my little CAs, both Oak Hill Warriors. So, you know, those are my little brothers.
NWORA. Well, a huge day tomorrow for the ACC network in upstate New York. It starts at 7 a.m. Eastern with Packer and Durham. Of course, Nothing But Net will bracket the Virginia-Syracuse showdown. So a lot going on in Syracuse, New York tomorrow on the second day of the college basketball season. Kicking things off tonight with the first ACC conference game in 40 years. Louisville against Miami. It's been all Cardinals here, the 5th-ranked team in the nation.
Steve, I can actually wear my orange tie tomorrow. Very few places I can get away with that.
Yes, you can.
But I can go orange and blue tomorrow. Both teams orange and blue, so I can get away with it.
Doesn't matter.
No one calls me.
You're not going to be criticized,
I
right?
will not. No one calls me a Virginia homer. No, none of that. I can just wear the orange and blue and be comfortable.
Here's NWORA in the paint.
Another offensive rebound by Sutton. But the shot clock did not reset.
And he gets it to drop. With just inside of 7 left to go. Boy, Sutton's so impressive here. Now 16 points on the night.
And that ball didn't hit the rim, so shot clock didn't reset. But one thing, a new rule here this year in college basketball, the shot clock actually resets to 20 seconds off of an offensive board as Vasiljevic knocks down another 3. So we've got a number of new rules this year in college basketball. Really haven't had to deal with many of them here today, but except for the 3-point distance increasing, but that doesn't bother Jordan NWORA, who knocks down another. The replay review can be conducted on basket interference. As you know, we go back to the LSU-Kentucky game a year ago, and the LSU winning a game on a big no call. And so that's one of the things that has been brought up, and of course to reset the shot clock to 20 and permitting coaches to call a live ball timeout in the last 2 minutes of the game. That is huge for college basketball coaches, that's something they fought very hard to get back into the game.
Corey, as far as moving the three-point line out, how's that going to impact the game the most, do you think?
Well, I think it simply just impacts the game because you don't have as many people shooting the three, and you won't see as many off-the-dribble threes. But for the most part, as strong and as good as many of these athletes are in college basketball today, the change in distance isn't really going to make much of a difference for them. And the game is moving further and further away from the basket. Shooting is more of a premium. And many guys, of course, they've had an opportunity to work on it all summer. They'll be prepared.
Chris Likes, who just hit that last shot for Miami, has 6 points on the game, but much too quiet. They need more offense from him, and he's the type of guy you might think would benefit from the increased distance from that three-point stripe, spacing the floor, giving more options, allowing him to get his shot away. And how about that from Harlan Beverly?
And Beverly playing with great poise. You talked about him playing at Montverde Academy under Kevin Boyle. And when you play that type of schedule, you play in environments that are very similar to college basketball. You work like you're a college basketball player. So, you know, no surprise at all that Beverly's come onto the scene ready to perform from day one for the Hurricanes.
Corner three, NWORA again.
And now you look at the numbers, and just like that, Jordan NWORA at 20 points, 11 rebounds. Right on par to where we were expecting him to be, but he hasn't had to have a huge influence on the offensive end of the floor for his team to be successful. I mean, he has 20 points, but they still would be successful without his scoring in this game.
Jordan NWORA last year was one of 4 players in the ACC to have 20 points on 13 different occasions. And continuing that pattern here on opening night, 20 points, 15 of which have come here in the second half alone. Chris Likes can't connect for Miami. With just north of 4 minutes now left to play. Now watch this from earlier this summer. Chris Likes at just 5'7", going up and getting over.
Well, one thing that Chris Likes does not lack is athleticism. Been around this young man since he was about 15 years old, watching him play. A special talent indeed. Hasn't had a great night here, but one of the things for Chris Likes, and he knows this because he dealt with it last year, he is the #1 reason for the opponents on their scouting report. He's the thing that they feel they have to take away most to be successful against Miami as Jordan NWORA continues to heat up.
Left wide open.
Well, and those are the areas of concern for Jim Larrañaga right now at this point. You don't want your guys to stop playing. Anthony Walker and Harlan Beverly, 2 freshmen on the floor because they have been productive in this game. But one thing that he doesn't want to see from his seniors or his freshmen is them to stop playing.
I know it's only the opening night of the season, but early candidate for play of the year. At least he's in the clubhouse with this one, and now others can try and match it the rest of the way. NWORA with 23 points, 12 rebounds here to lead his Louisville team. And Corey, he said he really struggled with the decision whether or not to go to the NBA during the offseason. It was very stressful. He made his decision in an airport the day before the deadline. Now think about that. The most stressful decision most of us make in an airport is, do we eat at Burger King or Dunkin' Donuts? He's deciding whether to stay in college or go to the pros.
Well, and again, I think he made the right decision. He has an opportunity here to be able to have a great season. And also, you know, you let some of those guys who may have been ahead of you at that time get out of the way. And so now his competition, of course, is younger guys, where with the NBA, many organizations want to bring in guys who know how to play and are not simply just about potential, but can come in and help them right away. And Jordan NWORA is one of those guys who's now had the experience and the opportunity to be able to go do that with the NBA team.
Meanwhile, Chris Likes the high arching three-point basket for the preseason ALL-ACC second-team player. NWORA and Likes, the top 2 returning scorers from last year in the conference.
How about Quinn Slazinski? Had his appendix removed a couple of weeks ago, and here he is out here making his ACC debut. Was one of the guys where Louisville was questioning whether they were going to redshirt him or play him this year, but he's been that good in the preseason to where Chris Mack has decided they're going to get him minutes. and put him on the floor.
And Slazinski had his appendix removed on October 17th. He then played in their exhibition 12 days later, and now here playing on opening night of the regular season as well. Williamson, the foul for Louisville, Likes at the line.
Well, one thing Chris Mack values is toughness, and it doesn't get any tougher than that, because I know right now if I get my appendix removed today, you may not see me for the next couple of months.
6 months minimum. Bring me the ice cream in my hospital bed, please. Likes is going to be so crucial to the potential Miami turnaround this year. We talk about all of the turnover in the conference, all the names that have been lost. As far as Miami, they lost 3 double-digit scores off last year's team and about 50% of their offense altogether.
You know, and I asked Chris Mack earlier today and Coach Larrañaga, do you like playing this game? You know, a conference game from the beginning, and neither coach liked it. When it's over, Chris Mack will most likely have liked this game. Jim Larrañaga still would not. But I love it for the ACC, and especially kicking off basketball season on the ACC network, to see the greatest basketball conference in the country playing against each other to start off. So you've got 7 conference games. The only team not playing is the Duke Blue Devils, who happen to be playing some pretty good competition tonight themselves in the Champions Classic.
You've got number 5 Louisville here in South Florida, and the 4 teams ranked ahead of them all playing at Madison Square Garden in New York. Now, we've seen marquee matchups like the one at the Champions Classic to start the season. That's not rare. What's really unusual is the fact that you get a conference game with a highly ranked team.
Well, the coaches like the fact that this is a one-time deal. I'd like to go to my guy, Mr. Commission, see maybe if we can do this every year. It's more fun for us, at least.
Sure. 10-0 run here for the Hurricanes, with the lead still 17 for the Cardinals, with just over 1 minute now left to play in regulation.
But the one thing that Jim Larrañaga has to take away from this is his guys did not stop playing, and you see that Chris Mack has not been able to just say, hey, we're just going to empty the bench. They've got to keep playing. And so, you know, when you look at this game, especially with it being game 1, you have to be able to take some positives and negatives away from it. And I believe our officials are going to go over and see if there was anything extra. Chris Likes took an elbow to the mouth from, I believe, Slazinski. And
we mentioned the new rules in play this year, and one of the points of emphasis is reducing the physicality in the game as well.
Now, I don't like that. Not a fan of that. Now, and again, reducing the physicality from the standpoint of plays that could put you in danger, yes. But reducing the physicality, this is the reason why these guys lift weights in the summertime, because there has to be a difference between high school basketball and college basketball. And when you talk to guys about that transition, what's the biggest difference? The speed of the game and the strength and size of the players that you're playing against. And we see right now, it's actually Williamson, not Slazinski, but you see the right arm making contact with Chris Likes to the face, but I believe that's incidental contact. The foul was called an offensive foul, but I don't believe that's going to be anything that is going to be extracurricular to warrant a flagrant foul.
Just a common foul is what it's called here. Well, as a player, how do you get your head around a rule when they tell you we're trying to reduce the physicality, and you know what your job is, you know the speed of the game and how physical it is by nature? How do you process that as a player?
Well, one of the things that you do as a player, and what has happened is many of the coaches, I know Chris Mack did it, actually brought officials into their practice in order to have the officials determine what it is that the guys can do now and they cannot do now. And I think that's helpful. But as a player, you have to understand that you've got to play defense more so with your feet than your hands and just try to beat people to a spot. But, I mean, we've watched it happen throughout, you know, the NBA has become a much less physical league. I have this conversation with people all the time based upon when I played in the NBA, you could hand check. Yeah. And I played in the NBA from 1995 to 2005, and the way that the game changed in the 04-05 season, where they pretty much took away the physicality of, is the reason why you see the inflated scores today. And I believe that's one of the areas where we could see that in college basketball. You look at this game, it's 87-70. If you rewind back 5 to 10 years ago, you're talking about a game between these two teams that probably would have been in the 50s and 60s. So I think those rule changes make it a more entertaining game, but I'm not always a fan of taking away the physical nature of basketball.
Foul called on Slazinski, and that puts Walker at the line for Miami with just north of 1 minute left to go here. Now, this Miami team last year allowed the most points in Jim Laranaga's tenure here in South Florida. And tonight, Louisville getting up there close to 90. There's still a minute left to go. What's your big takeaway going to be from this first game in the ACC this year, Corey?
It's going to be that the Louisville Cardinals are for real. They are legit. And again, this is not a bad Miami team that they've been able to come here and handle on the road. Miami presents a number of challenges, and I believe Miami's a much better team than they were a year ago. They'll win some games in the ACC, but I think Louisville is that good to where they can dominate at times against ACC competition. And they're doing it, of course, without Malik Williams and David Johnson, who the coaching staff is very high on.
And they're going to be coming back. Still a few weeks away, but they will get their contributions soon. Well, Aiden Gihon, the freshman from Ireland, did not like that call.
I tell you what, one thing's for certain. I don't want him to not like anything about me. They call him the Irish Hulk. And he is built for college basketball, maybe college football.
Well, for what it's worth for Miami, fighting back in an encouraging way. That's a 14-0 run after that three-point basket from Likes here as time is winding down. Louisville maybe taking their foot off the gas somewhat, but the Canes still keeping their foot on as the clock works its way to 0. Small contingent of Louisville fans here, also in town for the football game against the Hurricanes this Saturday, making a week of it in South Florida. And it's off to a good start. On opening night, number 5 Louisville beats Miami 87-74. Big statement by the 5th-ranked team in the nation. 5 players in double figures, and the preseason ACC Player of the Year, NWORA, goes for a double-double.